Good morning. Welcome to your Friday. My name is Jacob and Payne. This is things you might have heard for this day, Friday, May the 6th, 2022, which means these are things that happened yesterday that you can use for your chatting points, your walking points. Probably not for walking points, but your talking points for your water cooler talk for the day going forward, and maybe going forward beyond that. Some of these things are some interesting things that are going to take a little while to kind of gin up. One of the things about what we do for this project is sometimes it takes a little while for a story to gain weight. Sometimes it's something that's a regional thing that picks up into one of those kicker type things that turns into a national thing. Sometimes it's just a national story that gets blown out by bigger things. A lot of talk lately about abortion, which we're not talking about today, about Russia, which we're not doing a bit about today, about the economy, things like that, which will have economy stories going today that wipe out the smaller stories, the more interesting stories. And we like to say we have them with you, the most conversational people out there, having those conversational type stories, bring them up, even if they're not top line stories. We call ourselves your news side piece. As a joke, we are a tertiary news source. We don't plan to be, we don't break any news around here. We basically wait for other stories, other venues to explain it, give us some details, and then we go into using their stuff, aggregating it to talk to you guys. More information about how the project works is at thisisaconversationproject.com, where you can also find links for sponsorship opportunities and partnership opportunities as well to keep things going, keep hope alive, and keep me caffeinated. I'm a kid eating lots of candy because a kid, trust me, eats lots. Copious amounts of candy. Copious, a big word for today. First story for this morning. We got 7 stories, by the way, to give to you today. First story for the morning: Steve Burton separates from wife after accusing her of getting pregnant with another man. AceShowbiz.com is coming into light as a big piece of Hollywood gossip these days, and we're getting a lot of stuff from them. And this is one that we put out there as just sort of a filler, at least I thought it was a filler, and it turned out to be the top story that you guys want to chat about. Basically, you had a chance to chat about of the day from yesterday. So what does this mean? Well, if you're a fan of General Hospital, then it might mean a lot. Case Steve Burton, who's been on General Hospital for quite some time, married to his wife for quite some time, almost 20 years, I believe, and was expecting his wife, at least, her 4th child. Only Steve Burton says this child is not his. Dun, dun, dun. So we got some real life soap opera life going on in Steve Burton's life. We're going to see how this thing plays out in the media, most likely, because this is, apparently you guys wanted to talk about this. This was a pretty big deal in the gossip circuit. Maybe it was a low, kind of slow gossip circuit day, which is why it picked up so much steam. But didn't know so many people were still in the General Hospital or this guy himself. But that's what we got going on. This is a story that you guys wanted to chat the most about. We'll explain how that happens going on. But this was a big deal because you guys said it was a big deal. So we're talking about it. Our second story: ex-NBA star JJ Redick snaps at Chris Mad Dog Russo for sounding like Fox News. DailyBeast.com gave us that one, and it's the number 2 story of things going on. Another filler story that I thought was going to not go very far, that a lot of people apparently picked up on, maybe because it is JJ Redick. Now, what happened with this whole deal? Well, JJ Redick was sitting on the set of sitting on the set with Stephen A. Smith and Mike Russo, who's now filling in for the whatever chat yakety show that Stephen A. does. They're all basically the same, just people randomly saying nonsense back and forth. First Take, that's what it is. First Take, just people just saying nonsense back and forth, and Stephen A. Smith talking really, really loud and shouting out folks. We had a story posted in the feed that I think we put out there a little while ago. I think it made it into the show where we talked about Stephon Marbury. Yes, it did. Stephon Marbury calling out Stephen A. Smith because he was calling out Kyrie Irving, basically saying that, Stephen A. is just a punk in which he was playing basketball, and that's why he's so bitter with stuff. This is JJ Redick, another guy who played basketball, calling out Chris Russo, who talks like this on the radio, because I have no freaking idea. That's how he sounds on the radio, because people have fake voices. Talk about Gilbert Gottfried's fake voice. Chris Russo, who talks like this. Yeah, but New Yorkers hate him because that's what they do. He's a top-rated radio host there. He's a top-rated radio host on Sirius XM, I guess now. And JJ Redick, who played at Duke, who everybody hates, basically called out Russo for sounding like a Fox News guy, saying that that Damon Green should just shut up and dribble for being an outspoken member of the audience, being a person of influence and saying things that make sense. Chris Russo, kind of, as you see in the picture there, just sort of had to sit there and take it. JJ Redick, I still want to punch because he went to Duke, I guess. But JJ Redick calling him out. This is another thing happened. Another story popped out. To drop the knowledge in that one. It might have been Stephon Marbury. It might have been someone else, basically saying that the Will Smith treatment of comedians is maybe coming to a sports venue near you, where sports commentators and radio just yakety yaks are about to get smacked in the face. Sometimes figuratively, like here, sometimes literally, because they're just tired of hearing the sports guys are tired of hearing from the non-ball playing guys, what they should and should not be doing, especially when they're just making money off of what the guys are or are not doing. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I still want to punch JJ Redick, but he is all truth in this one right here. Next story we have here is Ulta Beauty apologizes for "Come Hang with Kate Spade" ad. ComicSans.com gave us this one. This was a 4th ranked one out of the day, and you can guess as where we're going with this one. So someone in marketing at Ulta Beauty decided that a Kate Spade marketing campaign for her new perfume would be awesome if we had a way to tell people to come hang with Kate Spade, because Kate Spade died of a suicide. So you can't hang with Kate Spade. And it's a very bad, very, very bad pun. Someone in marketing hopefully got fired. A CEO should get fired. A lot of people should get fired. But as far as I'm concerned, let's not worry about those idiots. Let's remind you that if you're a person who needs help, needs someone to talk to, and is in distress, try calling the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. 800-273-8255. Those last digits spell out talk. You can also go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org for resources as well. The phone line is available 24 hours a day. Obviously, the website's there all the time. They speak to you in English and language. If you can't reach them, reach a local group, reach a church group, reach a local suicide prevention lifeline type service. I know Arkansas has one as well. Reach out to a good friend who will listen to you, because we don't want to talk about this. But we're going to talk about this because we need people who feel like they can't talk about things to stop and not act, but talk. Take a moment, make a call, reach out to me if you want to. We'll chat up as much as possible. Next story, Lyft shares drop 30% on disappointing guidance. CNBC.com gives this one. This one barely in the range, but this is an important one, I believe, to talk about because of the economy, not so stupid, if you will. Lyft and Uber are having some issues because Lyft and Uber are companies and they're built on regular people who want to work a little bit of part-time money, but the regulations to turn the Lyft and Uber jobs into actual real jobs. There are plenty of stories of people who do nothing but drive ride shares and make good money. And there's plenty of people who sit around in their cars for hours waiting for good rides to make them good money. Both Lyft and Uber are having issues with that. Number one is pandemic issues in general. Disruption from the pandemic making a whole lot of things. But a whole nother thing is the fact that the business models aren't as sustainable as they thought they were. Excuse me. And it's, of course, all based on more or less cheap labor. All businesses are based essentially on cheaper labor than their costs, but Lyft and Uber are based on very, very, very cheap labor. People who wouldn't be doing anything otherwise, getting paid a modest rate for driving, using their own vehicles, using their own stuff to do things. Investors just don't like the way it's going. First quarter report from Lyft provided light guidance for the second quarter and said it would have to keep spending on drivers' incentives due to surging gas prices. So many things in the world happening right now that make the bottom line not a great bottom line for Lyft, Uber as well. So we're finding issues with that. If you are an investor, then you've got some issues. If you're a driver, then maybe they've got enough incentives to get you back into the driver's seat. FDA puts strict limits on Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. CNN.com gives us this story here, but this is one that's a pretty important one going on. Now, what does this actually mean? So, to get any of these vaccines, all the vaccines, both Moderna and Pfizer and J&J, all are given up on based on emergency usage because there wasn't a full time for full FDA trial and acceptance. They basically said this is good enough, so let's do this, and so that's why they went out there. Both Moderna and Pfizer are a two-shot deal, and they're also offering booster shots because they think they need it. J&J was a one-shot deal. It turns out that J&J was somewhere around 60 to 75% effective because mostly because it's one shot, but the one shot did it all. Now they're going back to limit its use for emergencies. Ignore the Bosch legacy thing. They're trying to make some money at CNN. By not allowing it on to be readily available. Essentially, J&J is for people who can't take the other vaccine or will basically refuse a vaccine and take this one. J&J will not be offered on the menu as a premium vaccine, if you will, because it's less effective. And with the strains of the coronavirus, updating, mutating, going forth, they're not quite so sure how it's going to work, especially since a one and done vaccine was not meant for any sort of boosting, where a two-shot vaccine is obviously thought process where, well, you can get another half a dose for something else and boost it on. That's where they're working on trying to figure it out. So if you have not been vaccinated, J&J may be the option that you choose, but you literally have to ask for it when you get there. It's not going to be offered on the first end because the FDA is going to limit it, put it on strict limits on who can get this level of vaccine. And two stories to wrap up the morning because they're basically making a little extra, but it also is a bit of a war, if you will, in the cultures that is in the television world. Some of it's based on nostalgia, and some of it's based on sort of situation now, although we're told it's not. Number one, well, not number one story, number 7 story in our feed today, in our listing, Will Smith comedy series This Joke canceled after 1 season, and Saved by the Bell cancellation at Peacock after 2 seasons. Deadline.com gave us that one at 9. HShowbiz.com gave us the first one at 7. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith both produce or executive produce the show called This Joke on Roku, and it's being canceled after 1 season for essentially not being funny enough or not being entertaining enough to stay on Roku. Roku is making its bread and butter off of essentially cheap entertainment that keeps people engaged because Roku is not charging folks to be on its service. It's free service. So basically, most people on the Roku devices are paying for Netflix, paying for Hulu, paying for that stuff. But if you don't want to pay for a premium service, there are some non-premium services that Hulu wants just to get their boxes in your house, and they'll give you plenty of programming to do that. This Joke was a show by Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, which is not going to continue after 1 year. Just was not entertaining enough. The bottom line didn't work on that one. They say this has nothing to do with the slap. This is just literally the ratings and the engagement with people did not work out. Saved by the Bell canceled after 2 seasons. This is the revival, not the original plus the extension that had Spanky and a bunch of really weird kids. Yes, I watched Saved by the Bell for way too long in my youth. But Saved by the Bell, the reprise, which is essentially bringing in the older cast for the nostalgia and a younger cast to kind of talk the issues of the day. Not going forward after 2 seasons. No reason on behind this one extra big other than the nostalgia may be gone. Essentially, the bloom is off the rose of nostalgia, a bite to nostalgia type programming coming. Although there's still some more in the pipeline and still more out there. This is one where Saved by the Bell is not going to be saved by the people. Also, there's a lot of shuffling going on in the streaming services as well. As we said, Roku is trying to keep people on their Roku boxes with programming that's relatively cheap because they don't charge for you to watch it. Peacock is a premium service or a paid ad premium service for people to watch it if they don't have the full premium service. They need people to watch because they got to make the money to get people watching the commercials. Honestly, Saved by the Bell was cute. But essentially a lot of the wrong direction type things. Some people kind of enjoyed it because of the nostalgia, but essentially it's old people watching young people shows, which turns out to be a big thing for a lot of people. Let's talk about a teaser for tomorrow. Or for the weekend, I guess. We got to go to a full weekend from Friday to Monday. So this is a story that we may talk about I would say more. I would say more not, but it's an interesting story, and it's a local story to me. Arizona Cardinals to sign Arkansas basketball star who hasn't played football since the eighth grade. This is an interesting one. Arkansas basketball player. He's played 6 years of college basketball, apparently, basically bouncing around, and with the transfer portal, was able to extend a bit further. He's played 6 seasons of basketball. Hasn't played football since as it says, the eighth grade. But the Arizona Cardinals, the football team, have signed him as a free agent to be a defensive end, I believe. I can't see it from the clip we have here. Just a screen grab from there. But if you want to talk about this story or other stories about transfer portals or sports, you get a chance to vote them up. You let me know inside of the feeds, and as you do your best to do what you're going to give us on stories in the range. We'll explain that part in just a bit. But first, let's explain how we keep things going financially here at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist for thisistheconversation.com website. Got tongue tied for a second. To get things going. Today's sponsor is Blinkist, and we had a kind of a glitch going on. We have a lot of things going on. With the beginning of the month, a lot of the sponsorships have changed up their promotions, and I didn't quite check them all. So while I was trying to do a free book every single day, the free book went away. Free book went away apparently yesterday, and I did not get it shown yesterday to understand that. However, what is Blinkist offering for you now? How about a full month of the app? A full month of the app, not 7 days, 30 days of the app, the full app with the full versions of all the Blinks and all the shortcasts for you to try it out and fall in love with, because you're going to fall in love with it. It's a great program, great app, great service. Blinkist takes the best parts of nonfiction books and autobiographies and whittles them down into what they call blinks. They are the most important, the real key ideas, and then you can just read them, or you can listen to them in audiobook form in most times under 15 minutes. So now, this week, we tried to showcase some things that were longer than 50 minutes. They have a lot of things that are more detailed, that they go 20, 25, 30 minutes, and you can check them out as well. This week, we had links for the 1629 project, also the Good Happy book as well. And so you can still get that. So instead of just giving you a chance to try out a book for free, you can have the whole app and try out any book you feel like trying out for free, including any suggested this week. We're hoping to put back out the 10-minute the 1 hour book club again, which is a listing of 4 Blinkist books you can check out each week. And when we do that, we'll let you know as well. So once you have the Blinkist app, you're going to go straight to that thing. We get a little cut from this because it is an affiliate ad after all, but it's not going to cost you anything else. In fact, you get a full month of Blinkist on me. Let's say it that way. So check it out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. The website is thisistheconversationproject.com. That is where you find details about what we do at The Conversation Project, how it works, and links for other sponsors so you can find other folks to take care of you. Partnerships, or maybe you want to help take care of us, keep things going, and the plea, specific things we're looking for our expansion. The feeds are on Facebook and Twitter. We post a new news story every 50 minutes on Facebook and Twitter, and you can enjoy them, you can engage them, you can hate them if you want to. We just need you to engage with the story, read them, get the gist of it. And the higher engagement the score gets, the higher chance it gets to be talked about here. We cut off at 15, the top 15 stories over the past range of day, which is basically about 30 hours, about 33 stories possibly within that range. And we will tell you about 5 to 7 of them on Tuesday through Friday. On Monday, we have 3 days to go through, about 90, almost 100 stories to pick from. So we'll take the top 30 and tell you about 7 to 9 stories on Monday. We'll expand that out as well. And if you are just seeing a clip of this someplace, and why they're showing this clip, I'm not quite so sure. You can follow us 5 days a week on our YouTube channel. This is conversationproject.com/YouTube. We only do the big one on Monday for the big audience. If you get on the big Monday audience and you're looking at this, go to our official YouTube page and you can get this all 5 working days of the week, assuming I do one. Yesterday was kind of an issue, but it happens. Some other things you might not know for today. Things including birthdays for today. Say hey to Willie Mays, turning 91 on this day. Also, birthdays for Tom Bergeron at 67, the former host of Dancing with the Stars, the perennial just host of stuff. I'm sure he'll find something to host fairly soon at 67. Plenty of time to do it. I mean, Dick Clark was doing it way, way deep into his age. And that sexy, sexy man, George Clooney, 61 years old. Maybe make you feel a little older, maybe make you feel a little younger. Who knows? It's all based on your relativity to Mr. Clooney. Today is also National Military Spouse Appreciation Day. We want to spend a little time showing appreciation to the backbone of our military, the spouses who are there for their husbands and wives now, people who stay at home when the soldiers and the sailors and the airmen go out to get deployed, the people that keep the families together and keep communities together in those times of need, and just are there to offer a loving hand of support to their spouses when they are in need. National Military Spouse Appreciation Day. We salute all of you. Special salute to a good friend of mine who's a great military spouse, that being Ms. Dawn Parker. Hopefully you're having a great day and celebrating your clearly Canadian day. That's an inside joke that only a few folks will get, and I can do that because it's my show. One last thing you might not have heard. A New York Times writer recently tried the van life stuff for a week, because they have to write about stuff. That's a big deal about all the kids these days living in vans, driving around, sleeping in vans, not having much to do, living off inheritance, I guess, or Bitcoin or whatnot. She said it was a disaster because you're living in a van. It's essentially being a homeless person on purpose. This is not roaming the world and going to campsites and hanging out and doing stuff on a long vacation. This is, parking on the side of New York City and just sitting out at the park, plugging in to resources and just essentially just hanging out with absolutely nothing to do. One of the problems with van life is, in order to have an actual life, you kind of have to leave the van, and you really don't have much stuff going on to leave the van other than go to influencer parties or something. I don't know. I'm not down with van life. I do want to get some sort of camper and go, traveling or so often, so we can, sleep in the camper, sleep in the van, if you will, do some nature stuff and all that stuff and make it easy and convenient. But to live my life in a van and taking pictures with duck face stuff, selfies, not going to happen. This has been May 6th, 2022 edition of Things You Might Have Heard for this Friday. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Thank you so much for joining us on the ride. Big ups to people popping in live, including my good friend, Mr. Vernon Wells, and Christina with a K, stopping by as well to check out, make sure things are going fairly smoothly for the morning. I want you to join us tomorrow. Really want you to join us tomorrow because, well, can't join us tomorrow because tomorrow is Saturday. Join us on Monday when we're more awake. Today, Bear Mattress should have been our sponsor for the full weekend's worth of stuff to talk about. We're going to go through about 90 or so stories, and from there we'll pick 30 to talk from, give you about 10 or so to chat about as well. But you get to choose them. Go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, and as the weekend goes along, as you're checking out your stuff, read a couple things, like a couple things, hit a couple things. The more engagement they get, the higher chance they get to come up going forward. One more time as a reminder, because when we get these serious news situations, we want to make sure that people are actually being taken care of and know that there are resources to go for, and resources where I can't see my screen, but I'll work on that as well. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. Suicide Prevention Lifeline.org as well. Offer 24 hours a day with people speaking English and Spanish to talk to you. If you feel a bit distressed, feel a bit down, feel like you can't quite figure out where to go next, have a talk with someone. They'll help you figure it out. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll do this again on Monday. We hope you're not too tired, too lazy, or just too whatever. Thank you very much.